Michael Carter, a former police officer with 15 years of dedicated service, had always dreamed of owning a beautiful home in a prestigious neighborhood. After years of working overtime shifts and saving every penny, his hard work finally paid off. He purchased a stunning two-story house in an upscale area of Atlanta, Georgia. The centerpiece of the property was a crystal-clear swimming pool that shimmered under the bright summer sun, a symbol of everything Michael had strived for. It wasn't just a house. It was a personal victory, a dream realized after a lifetime of sacrifice and commitment to public service. The moment he moved in, Michael felt a sense of pride and peace. His parents had never been able to afford a home like this, and now, as he arranged his patio furniture and admired the backyard, he knew he had achieved something extraordinary. This new beginning was supposed to be the reward for a life spent protecting others. For Michael, the pool was more than a luxury. It represented freedom, stability, and a well-earned sense of belonging in a community he had fought to protect for years. Little did he know, however, that this dream would soon be interrupted by a neighbor whose entitlement and prejudice would test everything he'd learned in his career. But in that first summer afternoon, as he reclined in his lounge chair under the Georgia sun, all Michael felt was contentment, unaware of the battle that lay just beyond the fence. The trouble in Michael Carter's new paradise began almost immediately after he moved in, and it came in the form of his next-door neighbor, Karen Thompson. From their very first encounter, Karen radiated suspicion and subtle hostility. While Michael was arranging his new patio furniture, proud of the life he had built for himself, he noticed a woman staring at him from her upstairs window. It was Karen, phone pressed to her ear, watching him as though he didn't belong. When he waved politely, she disappeared behind her curtains. The next day, while Michael was out shopping for supplies, his security system pinged. To his shock, there she was, Karen, casually strolling through his unlocked back gate, dressed in a designer swimsuit, towel in hand. She made herself at home, laying out on his pool chair and dipping her feet in the water. When Michael returned and confronted her, she feigned surprise, claiming she thought he was the new pool maintenance man, and smugly noted that the previous owners had always allowed her to use the pool. Her tone was condescending, and her implication clear. Someone like Michael, black and new to the neighborhood, couldn't possibly be the owner. When Michael firmly but calmly clarified that he was indeed the new homeowner and requested she ask for permission next time, her expression twisted into disbelief. She even questioned whether there had been some mistake, implying he didn't fit the profile of someone who should own such a home. As she left, she muttered ominously, "We'll see about that." From that moment on, it was clear Karen didn't just disapprove of Michael. She was on a mission to make him feel unwelcome. What started as an uncomfortable misunderstanding quickly escalated into an ongoing campaign of trespassing, entitlement, and thinly veiled racism. For Michael, the dream of peaceful home ownership was suddenly clouded by the shadow of a neighbor whose sense of privilege couldn't tolerate change or equality. Little did Karen know, however, that Michael wasn't someone who backed down easily. After Michael firmly established that he was the rightful homeowner, Karen Thompson's behavior grew from merely annoying to blatantly outrageous. Her sense of entitlement didn't waver. Instead, it intensified. One Saturday morning, Michael awoke to the sound of laughter and splashing coming from his backyard. To his disbelief, Karen had invited 4 of her friends over for a full-blown pool party on his property. When Michael stepped outside and demanded they leave, Karen responded with a dismissive wave, claiming they were just having a little fun and that the pool was barely being used anyway. Her guests, visibly uncomfortable, began gathering their things after realizing Karen had lied about having permission. Michael remained composed, relying on his years of police de-escalation training, and issued a final warning. The next time she trespassed, he would involve the police. Karen, unfazed, arrogantly stated that her husband golfed with the police captain, implying that Michael wouldn't be taken seriously. True to his instincts, Michael took preventive measures. He installed high-definition security cameras around his property, determined to document everything. Within days, the footage captured Karen peering through his windows, trying his gates, and even attempting to use a key from the previous homeowners. The most egregious violation came when Michael returned home to find Karen hosting her book club in his backyard, wine glasses in hand and jazz playing by the pool. This time he called the police. When his former colleagues arrived, Karen tried to spin the narrative, shedding fake tears and accusing Michael of harassment. But the officers knew better. They backed Michael, stating clearly that she was trespassing and needed to leave. Humiliated, Karen hissed that he didn't belong in the neighborhood and vowed revenge. From that moment on, Michael became the target of a more sinister campaign: false HOA complaints, stolen newspapers, and poisoned plants. Yet, despite the escalating harassment, Michael stayed calm and methodical. He collected evidence, knowing that his discipline and preparation would eventually turn the tide. Karen had underestimated him, and that mistake would soon come back to haunt her. After enduring weeks of escalating harassment, Michael Carter decided it was time to respond, but not with anger or confrontation. Drawing on his years of experience in law enforcement, he opted for a calm, calculated, and perfectly legal strategy. The final straw came when he returned from a grocery run to find Karen had once again trespassed, this time hosting a full-scale book club gathering in his backyard. With wine glasses clinking and her guests lounging poolside, it was clear Karen had no intention of respecting boundaries. Michael called the police, and when officers, his former colleagues, arrived, they quickly sided with him. Karen, humiliated and furious, lashed out with veiled threats and intensified her behind-the-scenes attacks. But instead of retaliating emotionally, Michael devised a plan that would hold Karen accountable in a way she would never forget. Recalling a conversation with a former partner, Michael remembered a special type of non-toxic dye used by professional pool maintenance crews to detect leaks. This dye only reacted with certain chemicals found in high-end cosmetics and sunscreens, the very kind Karen and her friends used. It was completely safe, temporary, and, most importantly, activated only upon contact with those products, causing the skin to turn a vibrant green hue for several days. Michael tested the dye in a bucket using leftover sunscreen Karen had left behind, and the results were flawless. With precision, he added the exact recommended amount to his pool and ensured it remained visually undetectable. He also installed extra hidden cameras to capture everything from multiple angles. When Michael learned through the neighborhood grapevine that Karen was planning another unauthorized pool party, he was ready. He staged his departure, parking around the corner and watching from his home office as Karen and her friends eagerly jumped into the water. What they didn't know was that karma had just been activated. For the first time since moving in, Michael felt empowered, not because he had won, but because he had done so with dignity, creativity, and without breaking a single law. The outcome of Michael's carefully crafted plan was nothing short of spectacular, a masterclass in poetic justice. On the day of Karen's secret pool party, she and her entourage strutted into Michael's backyard with full confidence, laughing and sipping champagne as if they owned the place. Clad in designer swimsuits and lathered in their usual expensive sunscreens and cosmetics, they had no idea they were walking straight into a harmless but unforgettable trap. As they jumped into the pool, the water seemed perfectly normal, crystal clear and inviting. But within minutes, the chemical reaction began to take effect. It started subtly, with one of Karen's friends noticing a strange green tint on her arms. Soon, shrieks of horror filled the air as all the women realized their skin was turning bright green, vivid and impossible to hide. Their carefully applied makeup ran in streaks of green down their faces, and their skin looked like something out of a cartoon disaster. Panic erupted. The women scrambled to gather their things, dripping green-tinted water across Michael's yard and into the street, as they fled in shame. Michael, watching from his office window, captured every moment on camera. Later, he edited the footage into a video that began with clips of Karen's repeated trespassing, followed by the green pool disaster, all perfectly timed to the same jazz music they had played during their party. When he posted it online, the internet exploded. The video went viral, garnering millions of views. The local news picked it up with headlines like, "Trespassing Karen gets green with envy." Karen's reputation crumbled. Her real estate agency was flooded with mockery and had no choice but to distance itself from her actions. Online comment sections were filled with green emoji, and neighbors who had stayed silent for years finally shared their own Karen horror stories. The video not only exposed her entitled behavior, but united the neighborhood against bullying. For Michael, it wasn't just about revenge. It was about standing up, with integrity, to someone who thought they were above the rules. And in the end, karma delivered its lesson in full, with a splash of unforgettable color. Following the viral video's explosion across social media and news outlets, Karen Thompson's once pristine image began to unravel completely. Her real estate agency, flooded with public backlash and green emoji-filled comments, released a formal statement distancing itself from her actions, citing that her behavior did not reflect the company's values. Karen, now infamous online, attempted damage control by posting her own video to explain her side of the story. However, the green tint still lingering on her skin only fueled more ridicule. Her emotional pleas were mocked as she appeared more like a bitter cartoon villain than a concerned neighbor. The final blow came when her lawyer sent Michael a cease and desist letter demanding he remove the video. Michael calmly responded with time-stamped footage of Karen trespassing, stealing his newspaper, and vandalizing his garden, ending the discussion once and for all. As Karen's credibility crumbled, the neighborhood dynamic began to shift. Residents who had once remained silent now felt empowered to speak out. Mrs. Rodriguez from across the street brought Michael her famous empanadas and shared how Karen had reported her Christmas decorations as too ethnic. The Johnson family revealed Karen had tried to get their children's basketball hoop removed, claiming it lowered property values. Even Karen's closest friends began to distance themselves, especially those still sporting a faint green tint. Her social circle collapsed, and whispers about her departure filled the neighborhood. Karen's last attempt at reclaiming control, a community meeting about dangerous chemicals in pools, was a spectacular failure. Only 3 people showed up, all wearing green ribbons in solidarity with Michael. Even her husband, overheard at the local golf club, lamented that she couldn't show homes anymore without being recognized as the Green Lady. Eventually, a "for sale" sign appeared in front of her house. While the green dye had faded from her skin, the stain on her reputation was permanent. Her departure marked not only the end of her reign of entitlement, but the beginning of a stronger, more united community, one no longer afraid to speak up against unfairness. After Karen's dramatic departure, peace and community spirit flourished in the neighborhood, and at the heart of it all was Michael Carter. What had once been a quiet, upscale enclave now became a vibrant, connected community. Michael's pool, once a source of conflict, transformed into a symbol of unity. He began hosting regular weekend gatherings, complete with safety guidelines, written invitations, and his now famous grilled ribs. Children laughed and splashed in the water, while parents chatted over lemonade and barbecue. Even those who had once kept their distance from Michael now embraced him as a valued neighbor. Tom, from 2 doors down, remarked during a Labor Day cookout, "I've lived here 20 years, and this is the first time I've truly known my neighbors." The house that once belonged to Karen was purchased by a warm and friendly interracial couple with twin daughters. The girls joined the local swim team, and Michael happily volunteered to help them practice in the pool. His backyard became a gathering spot for birthday parties, swimming lessons, and relaxed summer evenings. The security cameras, once used for protection, now captured moments of joy and togetherness. Even the once dreaded HOA meetings grew friendlier and complaint-free. The framed photo near Michael's pool gate, showing a group of green-tinted women running from his backyard, became a neighborhood inside joke and a quiet reminder of how far they had come. To visitors who asked about it, Michael would simply smile and say, "That's just a little reminder that karma always finds its way." His graceful handling of a toxic situation hadn't just protected his home, it had sparked a cultural shift, turning a once divided neighborhood into a real community. And in the end, the sweetest revenge wasn't the die, but the lasting peace that followed. This story serves as a powerful reminder that dignity, patience, and wisdom often speak louder than anger or confrontation. Michael Carter's experience teaches us that standing up for oneself doesn't always require shouting. It requires strategy, self-control, and a deep understanding of what truly matters. In the face of prejudice and entitlement, he chose not to retaliate with hostility, but instead with calm perseverance and lawful action. His journey reveals a timeless truth. When we respond to injustice with grace, we not only protect our peace, but inspire others to do the same. The power of community also shines through. When one person takes a stand with integrity, it encourages others to find their voices. For older generations who have witnessed life's many challenges, this story affirms that kindness and resilience are never outdated virtues. It reminds us that we can still shape the world around us, not with force, but with quiet strength and moral clarity. As we grow older, we may not always fight battles with our hands, but with our values, and that, in the end, leaves the deepest impact.